Gaza? Well, the former chief spokesman for UNWRA for many years, Chris Gunness, is with me now. Chris, I mean, the UK suspends funding, follows the US, Canada, Australia, several more countries. Is this action proportionate, do you think?
I think it is wholly disproportionate, and I think it's punitive. It will punish, like many financial sanctions do, the poorest and the most disadvantaged. There are 1 million people tonight, women, children, the elderly, the wounded, the sick, babies, the dying. They're the ones who urgently need UNWRA's humanitarian assistance tonight. What has Rishi Sunak and his government done? They've cut aid to those people at a time when he says he wants regional stability. UNWRA in the past has been praised for, through its human development work, bringing stability around the region. 500,000+ children being educated by UNWRA every day. What a better way to destabilise, what better way is there to destabilise the Middle East than to withdraw funding from an agency that does human development education, for example?
The allegations, if they are true, and the UN Secretary General says it's horrifying news, would be devastating, wouldn't they, for this agency?
It's absolutely horrifying, and the Secretary General, Philippe Lazzarini, the Commissioner General, the UN from top to bottom has condemned the appalling attacks on the 7th. But to be clear, UNWRA implements a zero-tolerance policy. If you look at the Commissioner General's statement, he said he's got rid of these people in the interest to protect the interests of the agency before there's even prima facie evidence of wrongdoing. That's how seriously this zero-tolerance policy is implemented. It's a very serious allegation. UNWRA is doing an investigation. It will be clear, it will be transparent, it will be independent. Let's see what the result of that is. But I hope that by implementing a policy so robustly that the government, the British government and others will see that UNWRA is doing everything it can. And can I just very quickly pay tribute to the nearly 15,000 staff of UNWRA who are in a war zone delivering humanitarian assistance. 152 of those have been killed, and we ought to be paying tribute to those people who've given their lives in the service of humanity.
I mean, the timing of this is unfortunate to say the least, never mind the allegations themselves, which are very worrying. But yesterday you had the International Court of Justice, calling on aid to be delivered to Gaza. Today that gets harder, doesn't it? Now that the funding has been paused by so many influential countries.
Well, let's be clear. The president of the court, an American judge, Donoghue, made it clear in her judgment that impeding and restricting humanitarian assistance is a violation of the Genocide Convention. What does Rishi Sunak and Joe Biden do the very next day? They cut humanitarian assistance. A state party to the convention is doing that.
And the US are the biggest backers, aren't they?
They are.
So can the agency, which is a lifeline to so many people in Gaza, can it survive without that level of funding?
Well, certainly UNWRA is facing an existential threat tonight. It's under huge political pressure, and it always has been from the Israelis and the far right, and now the Israeli cabinet in America, and also and others. But ever since I have been in UNWRA, it's gone through a financial crisis.
Nothing like this, surely.
No, well, Trump defunded the agency to the tune of more than 300 million in 2018.
Now you've got Finland, Italy, the US, Canada, Australia, and everyone else as well. I mean, do you think there's a risk it doesn't survive?
UNWRA has to survive, and UNWRA will survive. It may have to make trimmings, it may have to cut services, there may be huge internal reforms. But to be clear, it is the UN General Assembly, 193 governments in the world, who give UNWRA its mandate. So, governments like Rishi Sunak's government and others, the Americans and the Finns and the Italians and whoever else, can cut aid. It's the General Assembly that gives the mandate. So that will be there, and although these Western governments want to do whatever they're doing, defund for the moment, it will continue.
And just briefly, what does this mean on the ground in Gaza?
Well, it's not just in Gaza. It means that the work that UNWRA is doing with these desperate people on the ground fleeing war in UNWRA facilities, their aid is now under threat. But UNWRA also delivers humanitarian work in Syria, in Lebanon, in Jordan and the West Bank. Tonight, as the Middle East risks a regional conflagration, that human development work, thanks to these frankly irresponsible decisions, are now under threat. If I could just end by saying, it's been said on Twitter X, this is a bit like suspending funding to the NHS because Lucy Letby killed some babies.
Okay, Chris Gunness, thank you.